If you're stubborn in your knowledge and you're not learning new things, then you are in a past. It's not a matter of cutting people, it's a matter of the people that take in AI advantages winning over them.
Welcome to TTalks, the podcast where we break down the journeys of game changers, innovators, and leaders transforming industries and communities alike. It's more than just success stories. We dive deep into the experiences, challenges, and triumphs that define their paths. At TTalks, we dive into the stories of the leaders changing our world. I'm your host, TJ Walia. Eugene, welcome to TTalks.
Hey, DJ, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this conversation, especially the exciting work that you do in the world of AI and AI agents. I mean, these mysterious things that are creeping up everywhere. But before we get into that, I'd love to understand for our audience, what the heck does a national lead of app and innovation do at Microsoft? What does that even mean?
Imagine this guy, GitHub. So we all over that corporate world in enabling developers to develop on Azure the cutting edge application. Just imagine that you're working in a big bank or public sector and you have these 30 years old applications that slow down the deployment process, the customer interaction is bad and everything. So you want to modernize this and inject AI in the application. So how you do it? You call us and we will help you to develop this new approach in the new era.
How did you get into this? I mean, what was that journey for you from, you've been at IBM, you've been at SAP, you've been at Microsoft, you've had various different roles. How the AI space and where did that come from? I'd love to understand that.
Yeah, that's a good question because I always like to develop new things. As you remember, the Azure cloud started as mostly infrastructure, some application migration to Azure. And when I saw the opportunity, when we trying to build a new business for development, for the innovation part, that was very exciting how to build this in Canada. So I joined this. I was at that time was in Microsoft Consulting Services, building that business applications across Canada. And I joined this new business, and I'm excited. Like 2.5 years almost in the journey, and we grew the business significantly across North America.
Amazing, amazing, and that's very inspiring. And a lot of times when there's change, especially in larger organizations, people get nervous. People get scared of what is this going to be. They don't realize that for a large organization, when they're making big changes, there's a big pivot to something big. They're not just doing changes for the sake of it. So there's a lot of opportunities that come out of it. So kudos to you for adapting to that, looking at that, and jumping into those opportunities. So let's get right into it. I'm curious about this, Copilot space, this AI space with AI agents essentially, because we've talked about ChatGPT, we've talked about Copilot, and it's great on the modern work side where they're helping with a little bit of productivity here and there. What are you really working on?
Just imagine the simple things. You have IBM mainframe that was around for over 50 years. But the challenge is the skills are disappearing on the market. So let's say you want to build up and modernize your COBOL application. How you do it? So the advantages with using that AI for this space, AI can help you to analyze those applications and can suggest the changes that you need to introduce. We have that interesting use cases where we're using the GitHub Copilot to modernize those applications. So you can leverage this, you can try it out, you can build that the new application on the cloud itself, and then you can use and leverage all these AI advantages. And the interesting observation, it's taken from that the business side to the actual work side. Just think about the future, because you will require less human power and interaction with the systems, because the systems will diagnose test themselves leveraging the AI power. And you're seeing that shift in that development world when they start embedding those AI content and application in their applications. Because in the simple world, let's say customer service, how you leverage all these AI capabilities. Call center is challenging in terms of the people power and how you change frequently all the scripts and everything in the call center. Imagine that analysis and everything capabilities in that customer service will give you with the AI. This is that simple on the level of engaging with the customer and bringing all the power of your knowledge to the fingertips of the agents that talking to the customer.
That's amazing. I mean, Eugene, a lot of people fear AI and they say it's going to replace jobs or it's going to have an impact in this, in their careers. I mean, the use case you just described is taking an agent or a user from, a couple of decades ago with that skill set that some organizations still require and providing an agent with that skill set so that someone can actually do the job on that mainframe because essentially it's not easy to upgrade and rip and replace these things in a lot of organizations, especially at the skill that they're at. So I mean that use case is amazing. What do you have to say about that? Is that common that we're going to see, or do you feel that this is only a short, small window for a few organizations?
Taking that pace of change, my answer would be growth mindset. Taking that in account, because if you're stubborn in your knowledge and you're not learning new things, then you are in the past. Because I like that the recent saying is it's not a matter of cutting people, it's a matter of the people that take in AI advantages winning over them. I see the future that smaller team with the advantages of AI will build a new technology and they build a new future. I've seen that the big gap in the knowledge, especially in our Canadian public sector, where people are desperate for the new skills, but they don't know where to start. I think the starting point is to learn about the new cutting edge technology, leveraging the AI in your work, in your productivity, and learning together. Because it's not a matter of cutting people, it's a matter how you augment your work together with AI.
And you hit on a good point there is like, where do I start? And this is a conversation I have with a lot of my clients all the time, especially on social media. It's like, where do I start? There's so much noise with AI. And I always go back and say, stop listening to the noise, understand what some of these big corporations are doing, where the big bets are, understand some of those core platforms, because essentially they're going to be around for some time and they're going to become mainstream. So start adapting to those skills rather than going out to that new shiny AI, avatar maker that just got released by someone who may or may not be around in 3 weeks. So, a lot of people miss that mark and there's just so much noise. I always say, go back to what you know, go back to what you understand, and understand where a lot of these large corporations are investing in and start following that trend and upskilling yourself there. And that's why when I look at a lot of my clients, we stick to ChatGPT, we stick to Copilot, we stick to OpenAI, right? We're now introducing Gemini and other platforms as well. But those have been the core because one, they're anchored in, even though we're still early in the AI stages, but they're anchored in. Their bets are in from the organizations. They're not going to be a rip and replace and let's turn off this Copilot thing. It's embedded everywhere in every application that Microsoft is building. So it's a skill that people absolutely need to learn and adapt. And so when you say where do we start, that's my advice. And what's your take on that when they say where do we start? What are we looking at?
It's an interesting question because it's so many, you're right, it's so many resources and everything. My simple advice is try out Copilot. Microsoft release these applications on the phones for Android and OS, and you can just start. How's your Thursday going? Hey, Copilot, I'm in TJ podcast, and we're looking for how to start to build your AI skills. Can you advise on this?
Absolutely. Starting with AI skills is all about practice and exploration. Here's a roadmap. 1. Understand the basics. Start with foundational concepts in AI, machine learning, and data science. Gain familiarity with terms and ideas. 2. Learn a programming language. Python is popular in the AI community because of its simplicity and the availability of AI libraries like TensorFlow and PyTorch. 3. Work on projects. Apply your knowledge with hands on projects. Start small, like building a chatbot or a simple recommendation system, then scale up. 4. Join communities. Engaging with online forums, attending meetups, and participating in hackathons can help you learn and network. 5. Stay updated. The field of AI evolves quickly. Follow blogs, research papers, and news to stay current. Starting with these steps can give you a solid foundation in AI. Ready to embark on this journey?
Thank you, Copilot.
Love that. Love that. And if you look at the two key points that it started with, which was get basic understanding and knowledge. And then at the end, it said keep on learning because it's evolving, right? I love that aspect of it. But in between, Eugene, it talked about, building a chatbot, building an agent. I know this is something that Satya Nadella just announced as well and is talking about where that trend. What does that look like? What is this chatbot? And what is the use case for organizations that they should be looking at? Because I think a lot of individuals, again, if they struggle on where do we start from a learning perspective, heck, there's no way they're finding out what chatbot we're building. So, what's your advice on that?
Just to simplify this part, just imagine that you will go and do the chat with ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot in generic terms. It will give you a generic knowledge answers. When you want to adopt this for the organization, let's say you want to ground this in your data, you need to adjust this. You need to provide the content for Copilot to learn this content and answer your questions. This is called grounded this AI LLM engine into your data. This is step number one. And we have tools. We have Copilot Studio where you can modify your Copilot in the low code environment and you can ground it in the specific data documents that you want to ask questions and you want to build your own Copilot for this. Right? The next step is enhancing with the AI capabilities for the future. We call it AI agents. Let's say if you start conversation internally and you want to book an appointment, so you call that the task executor AI agent that will book an appointment in your calendars, right? So all these simple steps where you start using that engine, you learn about it, but then you need to adjust and adopt to your environment. And the beauty of the Microsoft Copilot together with this AI Copilot Studio is to do this in the secure environment because security is the most important for organizations and you're not distributing the data outside. You have the correct labels of the data for the security and you're asking the questions and the people who have access to this can access the specific question for the specific information. So this is important in the enterprise environment.
For someone or an organization to look at implementing this, and we'll get to how we do this in a moment, but to look at implementing this, especially the decision makers, the leaders in these organizations, because a lot of these things don't happen without their approvals. What do they need? What roles do they need? Who do they need as a partner? What does that look like? Who do they need from Microsoft? Like, from my company, Zentech, this is exactly what we do as a Microsoft partner. Will help enable customers and organizations on this front. But from your perspective, from that decision maker, what do they need?
They need a clear vision and a change maker because without these key components, and that's how we started with the big enterprise, like who is a change maker, who is decision maker, who is driving that change, because obviously you need to see and show the first results and these results should impact the business side because all these long-term implementation analysis paralysis and deployments in the organization, we know the examples. In the AI era, you need to show the value very quickly and you need to demonstrate the tools, how the tools will impact your business. So this is the most important start. And then the starting point, you start experimentation. Take that very recent example with Canadian Tire. Now you can go online and you can ask questions of your best tires, and that Gen AI engine will recommend you the tires, because you know like how complicated it could be. It's so many kind of tires and everything. So this is simple example how to get the information, because we have a lot of information, and get in that natural language Q&A bot that will capture the information, will talk to you, and give you advice on the best way forward. But to start, you need to show the value very quickly, and you need to show that this will be working. So that's why my advice is to start with the existing templates that's already available. For example, Microsoft Copilot is already available, and it will give you all the information that you have in your office together with the knowledge base that you build in around the documents. And then you can configure it, you can land this to your data, and you can leverage the knowledge of the partners like yourself to enable this for the organization as a whole.
Incredible, and that's an amazing use case that you talked about there. But let's, a Canadian Tire is a large organization, and when you have an organization like that, there's a million different use cases that you can go after and solve, right? How do you come down to narrowing the most impactful use case? Because Canadian Tire sells, I would probably say a million different products as well. Why tires? How does that come? So help me understand how we can make our viewers and even myself walk through that journey and say, this is the use case that we're going to pick, and this is what we're going to go after and try on. Help us understand that, Eugene.
Yeah, that's a typical metric system. When you get what's essential for your business, why the customers or client come into your business, and then you get the ranking in terms of the impact values and how fast you can implement, because you can target for example, even Canadian Tire or in any retailer, okay, gets this in that future of the retail store and build up as that the completely AI end-to-end experience, right? It will take ages, because all the conversation around that suppliers, how you will sell it, how you automate this. So don't take that very tremendous tasks. Boil down to the specific use cases that will bring impact. Which use case will drive the customer more and answer the questions? Which use case will ease off your burden and operations in terms of supporting the customer, call center, and everything? Take all these measures in the past, and then take the ranking of the use cases, and identify the use cases that easy to implement and with the biggest business impact.
Amazing, amazing. And to your point, finding that use case comes down to actually data, right? So if Canadian Tire would have taken that information or gone to all of their stores and their website queries and said, what's the most common question that we're getting, right? And if that common question comes back with data and that says everyone's asking about how the heck do I get the right size tire for my car, and what tire do I need, then let's figure out how do we answer that. And they have all the data, they have all the information. So how do you package all that together? So now let's go to the next stage. So we've found a use case, we understand what we want to go after. How do you build this chatbot that answers all of this and integrating into the website?
Take pre-existing templates, low-code development. Just use, for example, Copilot Studio, and implement the easiest use case related to this Copilot chat. And you will see results right away. And by the way, talking about that call centers and the data, I've seen that trend right now. Banks and big organizations is trying to transcript the call center data for at least past 3 years to see the common asking questions. What's the burning for the call center to answer this? How they train new agent to be more proactive? How they get this burning to that AI tools that will take all these frequently asking questions? And we see tremendous improvements in the productivity in this space. So take the simple steps, get the data to the right understanding what data you have, and then give this to the AI engine in this secure environment to make sure that you can train the AI on your data and you get the right answers.
And let's touch on data a little bit as well, because a lot of people think that data is the new currency, it's the new oil, it's going to be worth millions. But is it all data, or is it actually quality data? And how do you find the quality data?
That's a great question, and I've seen examples when the organization implemented AI engine already, but the data is not ready. So imagine that how data worked in the different parts of the organization, like silos, and security comes in mind in the first place. Even in the office, how many documents are flying around? Do you have all the right labels and security posture for all these data? Do you understand the quality of the data? Because sometimes customers are asking, okay, we have these compliance documents, they all labeled, but we need to get this to the more working level where we have all these working documents across the different departments. And just imagine that combining that legal, HR, together with the sales and marketing. Imagine that complexity, and imagine like how much information you can capture, but it needs to be organized first and be ready for the AI.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's steps that you have to take. So you can't just go on and turn this thing on and then say this agent's a disaster because it's answering the wrong questions. Why? Because we fed it the wrong data. So, the saying garbage in, garbage out. So we have to make sure that that data is conditioned, it's set up appropriately for that specific use case before you just dump everything in there and expect, wonderful, amazing responses.
Yeah, amazing that the example I've heard just recently. Just imagine that big bank, and you are employee in the big bank, and now with the AI, they put everything together without any security considerations, and now you have access to all the data across the bank and all the operations and everything. Just imagine that the security
Yeah.
breach that could be in that part, right?
Well, and that's a challenge, right? Because this is more reason for us to actually govern that data more correctly. Because historically, people may not know where to look and where not to look. AI is not going to care; it's going to look at everything, and it's going to pop some information and give it back to you. So this is really a reminder now that more organizations really tighten up that security around the data and the governance of what data belongs where it needs to be. I'll share a simple use case that happened, or a scenario that happened just a couple of days ago. I won't label the organization or what happened there, but I won't label the organization or who else was involved. But what happened was they made out a call that was supposed to be internal, and there was an internal meeting. They had sent out this invite, and they gave it to an AI to just say, go, figure out who needs to be involved here. And they sent this invite out to everyone. That invite went out to external parties. And so during, maybe a quarter way through the call, they're like, these people are not supposed to be here. What's going on? Right. So they had to pause the call, disconnect it, disengage it. So we have to really think about how we use the data that we have and how we have access to these agents. Not having the right knowledge on how to use them can actually be dangerous for an organization as well, especially if not governed and put out correctly. So what are your thoughts around that governance and how we can run pilots effectively without impacting real business data and without it having been leaked or exposed?
Yeah, and that's what I love most about Microsoft is probably you heard about that recent announcement that security is the top priority for Microsoft, regardless of all this new AI era, all this part. But security is the most important part for us. Everything related. It was a bit. I would say, difficult transition and change because before we used to openly share the documents and with the customer meetings and everything. Now we have to label and control the labels in all the documents, right? So the starting point, I would say, from that mission and voice from the top. because it needs to set the tone. And then using the right tools and the right technology at the right time, it's very important, because the governance, how you control all these AI tools. We have this responsible AI framework that will give that layers of that governance across the different AI technology. It has to be transparent. All the main principles of the responsible AI has to be met. So this is most important part, is that security, responsible AI, and then you build your framework of the governance over the data and AI.
And even when I was at Microsoft, I knew security was top, top, top priority, irrespective of what was happening, what we were doing. And now with AI, it's even more so. A scenario just from last week, I got a call from a client who said that they basically enabled security in their environment. They're trying to send a document to their client, their end customer, and the customer cannot open it. And they said, we've sent it 3 times and they can't seem to open it because it's protected. What do we do? And they were upset. They're like, this is embarrassing. This is not how this is technology supposed to work. And I'm like, no, no, no. This is exactly how this technology is supposed to work. You've just misconfigured it. That's okay. But know that no random person is going to have access to your data if something gets out there. That's the beauty of this technology. And I said, this is now more of a conversation that goes back to your customer and say, hey, listen, this is how seriously we take this data. And it is hard for us to expose it out to anyone. And it's by putting the right, parameters in place to get this data protected. So I love that scenario that happened, that we turned around from being, quote unquote, embarrassing to, hey, this is actually a learning opportunity. This is how most organizations should operate. Eugene, I want to switch into the other aspect of our agents. We talked about the journey, the use cases, how we create an agent. How easy is it? I know you talked about templates. Is it fairly easy for someone to get up and running, or does it take something that takes weeks and months to create, from your perspective?
The beauty of the new technology in that it takes minutes or hours to create it. Right? So I mentioned already Copilot Studio. We will have, I think, 4 built-in AI agent for the Copilot Studio to easy schedule the meeting and all these simple tasks. So you can try it out right away with the Microsoft Copilot. But then if you want to build more complex scenario, you get on the next level, leveraging that Python development technology and everything. But we have answer to this as well. If you take the new announcement with the AI Foundry, with the layer of that SDK and ready to build, and Copilot, GitHub Copilot will help you to build the initial templates and everything. And then AI Foundry will help you to deploy this in production at the enterprise scale. So nowadays, these projects, instead of month, it might take a weeks to get it's up and running, to deploy in enterprise environment and make sure they're secure and reliable.
And the best part is, if you're stuck anywhere, you ask your co-pilot how to help you through it, and he'll tell you the answers as well. So it has all that knowledge.
Exactly.
It's almost like it does it for itself and it's building itself, which is phenomenal. Eugene, in terms of organizations now for next steps, I know a lot of people are still on the fence. It's like, I'm reluctant, I'm hesitant. We talked about data, we talked about privacy, we talked about governance, we talked about the ease of it. What's the first thing they need to do?
Start with simple things. That's the easiest one, right? So I show you the example with the Copilot on the mobile device. This is very simple. Enable that Copilot in your enterprise environment. We just recently announced yesterday that GitHub Copilot is free for the Visual Studio Code, right? So now you have that code engine that help you to build the future development environment and future software. So that's the beauty. Start with the existing tools that already exist, and you can leverage this right away. Start with the experimentation and outcome that will give you this ability to understand better that what AI engine can do for you. But then in the enterprise environment, make sure that you're running this in the protected cloud, secure environment like Azure. And in Azure AI enablement, we have already all these open source models available for you. I think it's 1200 LLM model that already available in the Azure cloud environment. So you can leverage these capabilities and you build your own engine. You start talking to your information, grounded to the information part, and do that simple use cases to make sure that you get to the value realization very quickly.
An area of AI that we touch on is like it can do this, it can do that, it can pretty much do everything for an organization, and that's kind of the buzz and the sentiment that's happening outside. In reality, what are its limitations right now? What are things that customers should not expect AI to do?
Yeah, I would say that not everything will be covered by the AI, and you have to be cautious in terms of that results because all this generative AI it's based on the natural language, and we know that there is some limitation to this, and you need to be very specific in your request and make sure you control the output. As always, it's in that, like in the old days when we're learning that machine learning, that the different technology in the AI space before, we were training, testing the results all the time. And as you know, that machine learning, you start testing on the results and you getting, but the more cycles you do, the more precise answers you will get. That precision of the machine learning models are very important. It will be true for all these generative AI engines and LLMs as well. So you can try the different LLM model. You can try that precision and the quality of the LLM model for your specific use case. That's the limitation. You need to test. You need to ensure that results will be correct. And one of the fears I'm hearing from the CIO side is when I deploy this engine, especially for the external customer, how I ensure that the answer is correct because they are not controlling it. In the old days software applications, they can control the scripts and they can test the results. But with the AI agent will be interacting with your customers. How you ensure the results, right? So that's the fear that I can feel in that space, right?
That's a great question. How do you control the results of AI? Because there's hallucination in some aspects of it, and hallucination comes in many aspects where people don't realize it's how we've prompted the AI to give us a response. And one thing I always tell customers is AI isn't going to be like a human that's going to say, I don't know the answer to this question that you've asked. Instead, it's going to say, here's the answer. And it's not going to give you the probability of it, but in the back, behind the scenes, it says 62% probability this is correct. Right? That's what it's thinking. But we don't see that. So you're going to get answers, and we have to. And this is why I love what Microsoft's done with this, is called it a co-pilot. We still have to be in charge. We have to validate. We have to ensure we put the right data in, but we also have to understand that we're navigating these tools and resources as that, as tools, not as, hey, they're here to do everything. I can sit back and relax and sip my coffee, and I don't have to worry about a single thing. Not the case, at least not anytime soon.
Exactly, and you just don't sit in the chair and expecting the great results. You need to work together. So this is that about the skilling up. Remember, the whole hype with the prompt engineering was in that past year, like raised a lot because you need to get the right questions to the right data to get the right answers. Right. So that's why that I love this. Copilot analogy and assistant part because that AI can assist you, but you need to drive this and be responsible for the result.
Absolutely. I was talking to a client just yesterday, and he basically said to me, he goes, TJ, I spent the whole week fighting with this thing. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, I'm trying to get it to give me a very specific answer. I've asked it the question the way it is, and he's creating a holiday game for his team, and he wants the second letter and the last letter to be something very specific. And he's like, it's a complete mess. It's not giving me what I wanted to do. And I looked at it. I'm like, let's share your screen. I typed in the prompt, and literally right there and then, it gives me the answer. And he's like, how did you do that? He goes, I did the same thing. So I look at his prompt. his prompt was missing quotes around the specific letters that he wanted. So something small as putting quotes on what you want, where you want it, how you want it, and navigating that agent to respond accordingly is an art and a skill that you have to build. It's something that takes practice. And he's like, I spent 4 days on this thing and you did it in 30 seconds. Like, how does that even happen? So there's a lot of skills development, like we we're talking about on the prompting, on understanding how we communicate. It's a new language, essentially. Prompting is a new language, and we have to understand how we talk to AI, because without that skill, you are rendering this amazing technology useless, right? Because people don't know how to get from it what they need, and primarily because they don't know what they want. It's hard for them to articulate that, and if you can't articulate that, and this is what I was telling my kids the other day, I'm like, it's so important for high school English now is that you know how to articulate exactly what you want and build that muscle. Because once you can do that, you can now translate it into a prompt and give it all the parameters and get the results you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
Amazing. Amazing. Eugene, we're going to switch up things to our rapid fire segment. Rapid fire segment is basically where I ask you a question, you respond with the first thing that comes to mind. You ready for this?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's do this. One of them is going to be easy for you, but we'll start with coffee or tea.
Coffee.
Okay. Most inspiring book you've been reading.
How to negotiate correctly. It's always
Okay,
a
love
part.
that. Love that. Dream car. And you know why I'm asking this question.
Yeah, Porsche.
Porsche, of course. It's all over your LinkedIn. One word to describe the future of AI.
AI agents.
Yeah, agents. Agents. I guess that's the one word. It's agents.
Agent. Yes.
All right. And one of the things that people think about, and we see from movies and all, but is AI going to become evil? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Just we control it. Right?
Absolutely, because we're putting the data in there. That's what people miss, right?
Yeah,
It's the data that we're putting in
exactly.
there. Yeah. Your favorite gadget right now?
Mobile phone,
Okay.
it's always
Okay.
with me. So
Okay. Most exciting AI feature?
I would say that understanding of the natural language.
Okay.
This is the
Love that.
biggest
That's
breakthrough of ages.
we all can talk to it. Funny enough, I was teaching my, and I know we're going off of track from our rapid fire, but I was teaching my dad how to use AI, and he's like, and English isn't his first language, so he kind of struggled with it. And I said, who said you have to talk to it in English, right? So he starts talking to ChatGPT in a native language, and he's like, this is amazing. Like it's responding to him, it's giving him everything, and phenomenal. But our last question for you is not related to AI, but maybe it could be depending on how you answer it. If animals could talk, which animal would you want to have a conversation with?
My cat,
Okay, okay. How old's your cat?
2.5.
Okay, I'm sure it's seen a lot of things then. Lots of things it wants to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Eugene, thank you very much for being here. I absolutely appreciate it. For individuals who want to get in touch with Eugene and find out the work, get fascinating work he's doing, hit him up on LinkedIn. That's kind of where he's active. He's seeing his journey across the world, and more importantly, his banner, which has that portion there that you'll kind of get fascinated about as well.
Thank you so much, DJ, for having me. And yeah, happy holidays to everybody. It's a great time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you. Cheers.